Welcome guys to my first attempt at a Record of Ragnarok or Sumatran no Valkyrie what if battle. Today we have Lubu vs Hercules. If you haven't already, subscribe for more and consider joining the Discord to talk more about this Chadley series. So Lubu, known as the Flying General and the strongest warrior of the Three Kingdoms, was the first fighter for humanity in the Record of Ragnarok tournament where he faced Thor and was defeated. He is a character shown to be fearless, bold, and immensely determined, who will face death in the face head on and not have any fear of dying and accept his fate with whatever happens and give 100% of his strength to anything he's trying to accomplish, with the main Valkyrie Brunhilde describing him as the most barbaric warrior. For his background and past, it mainly consists of him fighting for 30 plus years and eventually falling into despair, with him realizing that he had become the strongest under the heaven and decided to pretty much end his life, and this ended there because no one in his lifespan could actually defeat him and he was the strongest around. As I mentioned at the start, the strongest of the Three Kingdoms of China, with him being very excited and loving his fight against Thor even though he was defeated. And personally, in my opinion, this was more of a one-sided fight and not one of the closest fights we had in the whole series, with Thor winning with about, I'll say, 70 to 75% difficulty. Thor didn't really take an insane amount of damage during this fight, with me personally consider Thor top 3 strongest in this series we've seen so far, but that doesn't pretty much give any shame to Lubu. You still have to respect his strength, which I'll go over now. So his biggest asset considering his power and abilities is his raw power and strength, with him shown to handle and even match the power of Thor while taking and blocking Thor's hammer attacks head on at first. Despite only being human, he is considered the strongest human of his time, being considered the strongest man of the Three Kingdoms, and this was mainly due to his raw physical strength alone, with his strongest attack or strongest swing using his sky piercer even able to split the sky. That's how much power this absolute beast had. And also considering his weapon, the sky piercer, it's a halberd which is designed only for him to use. With the help of the Valkyrie, he's able to turn this into a volume so they can actually damage the gods with the divine weapon and all of that. So it's pretty much a spear type weapon that's a halberd that is capable of withstanding attacks from Thor, which is absolutely incredible, with him shown to have incredible durability and pain tolerance, being able to handle all these attacks that he received from Thor throughout their fight. And it's also good to mention he started the fight out against Thor riding a horse, so the horse will also play a part at the early stages of the fight as well. Now I'll talk about Hercules. So a Greek demigod and the champion of the Olympians, is the representative of the gods in the 4th round of the Ragnarok tournament. He's considered the most righteous among all the gods and was the second god to be defeated in the tournament, where he faced Jack the Ripper and was defeated extremely high difficulty by him, with him being one of the few gods who is against ending humanity, as he was pretty much a human part of humanity at one point before rising up to the League of Gods, with his past or background having him fight Ares for multiple days, showing his insane strength before even getting all his labors, and having insane strength that he received when he became a demigod. And then with his fight with Jack the Ripper, where he was severely disadvantaged right from the get-go, with him fighting Jack the Ripper in London, or in a 19th century London arena where Jack had all the advantage, with Jack having one of the most hacked volumes in the whole series, being able to turn anything into a divine weapon that can damage Thor, and with Thor kind of not really going 100% due to him wanting humanity to be left alive, and this will also play a part when facing Lubu, who is a human as well. And also how Hercules only really lost this fight because the battle of the mind, or he was outwitted by Jack throughout this fight. He had more strength, more durability and all that, but Jack just had more planning, more scheming, and was a smarter fighter to give him that win. With this what if battle against Lubu being in a regular arena, so none of them are going to have a huge advantage based on arena like Jack did against him. For his powers and abilities, he has one of the strongest wills we've seen in the whole series, being compared to Adam. That's how strong his will was, with him still being a regular human, even the child being able to continue fighting and never give up, even during his fight against Jack the Ripper, showing with all the damage he taken, never falling down and just giving everything he has. He has godly strength, with his strength proven to be able to defeat all of Ares' vanguards, and also Ares compared his power to Zeus himself when he was fighting Jack, which is just absolutely insane. We know how overpowered and strong Zeus is himself. He has pretty decent speed and reflexes, about the same with Lu Blue in my opinion. He has godly durability on par with Lu Blue in my opinion, being able to take all these attacks from Jack the Ripper and continue going. He also has the ability to use a club when fighting to have even more power and deliver multiple strikes with immense strength right after each other. And then his most powerful, which is his techniques or his 12 labors, with them also having a huge drawback and danger to them. Each technique has immense power and they're all kind of a little bit similar, with them mainly involved using his club and having an insane strength based feat. But despite these being so powerful, each time he performs a labor attack with his club, he grows a tattoo on his body that spreads across his body, and the more labors he uses of the 12, the more it spreads, and this tattoo causes immense amount of pain to him. And once the tattoo spreads across his whole body, he will actually die, and that will be the end. And to give some context of the powered labors, I'll talk about the 12th labor known as Cerberus. This involves Hercules throwing his club into the air and summons a Cerberus. This gives him more power by feasting on his flesh. This technique provides Hercules with a huge boost of power to take on tough enemies. He'll develop characteristics similar to a Cerberus, such as sharp fangs, claws, and the collar. The final labor doesn't last long, and the only way to stop it is to take the life of the enemy. So this is pretty much the last resort labor, and once this is over, or once this pretty much fails or succeeds, Hercules will most likely die at the end no matter what. And then Hercules' most powerful damage based technique was his Great Hero Blow, which left a massive crater in the ground after using the attack. But now I'll go on to the what if battle. So when it comes to speed and reflexes, as I mentioned before, I think these two characters are about the same. Hercules being able to keep up with Jack the Ripper's attacks, and Lu Blue being able to keep up with Thor's attacks. I'll consider them about equal and pretty much the same for that aspect. When it comes to strength, you could argue once Hercules enters, the 12th labor or uses some labors, he'll have a little bit more strength, but that has the risk with that. So when we're talking about base, you could consider their strength being around the same, or Lu Blue a little bit stronger without Hercules relying on his labors. But as a whole, in my opinion, I think the fight will actually be very similar to the Adam vs Zeus fight, which was just a back and forth melee fight, but this fight will be using weapons, with Hercules using his club to deal devastating damage to Lu Blue, and Lu Blue using his spear to do devastating damage to Hercules, with Lu Blue having the reach advantage considering this, which may give him a little bit of an edge at the start of the fight, which may play into him winning near the end. But at the start, it'll just be a back and forth doing immense damage to each other with various attacks. Hercules won't be using any labors at this point until he realizes that Lu Blue is getting the advantage, and with the superior range and pretty much superior weapon in my opinion, I think Hercules will realize he's going to lose if he keeps this up, and this is where he'll pull out some of the labors, maybe the 1st and 7th labor, something like that, to give him a little bit of an even playing field with Lu Blue. But as we know, as Hercules uses some of the labors, it'll deal more pain to himself, which does more damage to himself to sacrifice having more strength. Once using about 3 or 4 labors, Hercules will be dealing an insane amount of damage to Lu Blue and maybe getting the advantage. This is where Lu Blue will most likely pull out his ultimate technique, the Sky Piercer, where he will try to land that on Hercules, and this is where Hercules will realize the power of that attack and may require the Great Hero Blow, or even the 12th labor Cerberus with the Great Hero Blow to actually counter the God Piercer technique. And once these two go, I think Hercules will be in the lead at this point. They won't be defeated yet, or Lu Blue won't be defeated yet, but I think with those two techniques from Hercules, he will have more power with that, and Lu Blue's attack won't fully negate everything from that. I forgot to mention Lu Blue's horse at the start, which will most likely get out of commission very early in the fight, and Hercules won't have a problem dealing with the horse near the early parts of it. And this has probably happened before Hercules needs to pull out any of his labor. This is where Lu Blue will get the advantage at the start that I mentioned about. So after the big clash of attacks, I think Lu Blue may have lost some limbs, but that doesn't really matter to Lu Blue because he has some insane hive tolerance, as shown with his fight against Thor. He barely flinched when he lost his legs against Thor and continued to fight, and even when he lost some of his arms, he barely flinched as well and continued to give everything he has. And the same thing could be said for Hercules, but after requiring the 12th labor Cerberus end the great hero blow, he'll be maybe a minute away from death or losing the fight or being like 99% away from death. So we have Lu Bu, who's most likely lost maybe 2 limbs from that attack, and Hercules, who's on the brink of death after using everything he has. And after this, I don't think Hercules will have enough power. Even though he does have insane will, he may be able to, you know, give one more attack out, but I don't think that last attack's gonna do enough to stop Lu Bu from finishing the fight and getting the win there. So in my opinion, I think Lu Bu wins this fight around 95 to 99% difficulty, one of the closest fights we'll have in the whole series if this fight would have occurred. Absolute hype. Let me know down in the comments your opinion of this fight. Do you think Lu Bu wins like I said, or do you think Hercules wins? Do you think the difficulty is extreme like I think, or do you think it's much lower with it being one-sided? Let me know down in the comments. Let me know what if battle you want me to cover next for this series. And yep, that's it guys. Peace.